What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Caleb Davis.
And my name is Brett, and we have some notes. Let's get into it. But first, Caleb, how's your day been going, man? How's your weekend? I feel like we haven't talked in a little bit. Things have been picking up at school, I presume. So
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick us off. I'm on campus. I'm the president of the multicultural business students here, and we had our first GMM, which is our general membership meeting yesterday, and it was a great turnout. We've been planning for it like since we got back on campus, and I was anticipating about 100 students showing up. We hit about close to 130. I think we might have went over because some people didn't even like sign in and register. So super exciting. But yeah, I've just been attending meetings, trying to be active, especially because it's my senior year. I've been trying to do a little more, trying to stretch myself a little more thin because it's almost over. Trying to
yeah, bro, you
experience
gotta
everything.
enjoy every last experience, bro, for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I have no regrets leaving senior year. So that's
Yeah,
where I'm at. But how about
no
you, man? How you been?
regrets. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my parents; they gonna get the reference from We're the Millers. But uh, yeah, no. On my end, I've been pretty busy working working with the heads, org that I'm part of, and planning the Black Homecoming event that we host annually here at U of M, and what that looks like. It's a dance combined with performances and showcasing people that are doing great work in our community, specifically seniors that we want to highlight for our homecoming court. And that's always a great time. You know, there's dancing, obviously celebration, music. So I'm very excited to be a part of that planning process, and that's going to be this Saturday. And then we're also helping shoot for the documentary that I'm producing that I think I touched on in a previous episode. We're shooting the stroll off at my school that all the D9 fraternities and sororities do every year for a charity. We're shooting that for the Black Greek life portion of our documentary this
Right.
Friday. And then we're also going to be shooting the Black Homecoming too. So it's kind of funny because I ended up being in a band for Black Homecoming while also like low key like helping people shoot the
Participating and
documentary.
yeah.
So I'm wearing two hats for the same event. So that'll be very interesting to figure that out. But I have a great team of people that are doing really good work with the documentary. So I'm sure that everything will be smooth sailing. But yeah, it's a busy weekend for sure. But I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I just got my car back like out of the shop, so I was thinking about possibly coming down for homecoming. I think my parents were gonna head down there and show out, so I might make an appearance. Hopefully, if I do, I'll
Yeah,
definitely let
bro.
you know.
Yeah,
Definitely.
let me know. We can definitely plan something, bro.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. Today we're gonna be covering four games, and I'm kind of gonna name those in chronological order. We're gonna start with the Chiefs versus the Ravens, which ended in a Chiefs W. The score was 27-20, and that game was amazing. That's all I can say. We're gonna get a little bit more into that in future and further in this video, but yeah, it was a great watch. Then we're gonna talk about the Lions versus the Rams. That ended with an amazing Lions W in overtime. The score of that was 26-20. And I know we're both super excited to touch on that game. And then we're gonna head into Michigan State versus Maryland, which ended up with an MSU W, and the score of that was 27-24. And then we're gonna round things off with Michigan L in the Michigan versus Texas game, and I had to throw that in there. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started, Brett. I'm gonna hand it over to you to start. Like, what were your thoughts on the Chiefs Ravens game? What kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me, going into it, I think a lot of people were thinking about because everybody knew that the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core was struggling last year. You know, Kadarius Toney with his numerous drops felt like he wasn't putting his all into like running his routes and things of that nature. They had Sky Moore as like their best receiver on their team, which is just some dude from like Western Michigan. And granted, like he was great, but like I mean, at a certain point, it's like your talent ceiling was capped out by what Mahomes' receivers were able to do, and they still won the Super Bowl. So that just goes to show you like how great the mind of Andy Reid is, how much of a generational talent Mahomes is. You know, Kelsey's performance in the Super Bowl, as well as their defense. You know, with guys like Chris Jones affecting disrupting the offensive lines of opposing teams. Um, but yeah, like I think for me, like, again, like so that I was looking at the wide receiver core coming in this game, and I think Xavier Worthy really showed out and he showed what he can do as far as his speed goes. It looks like they took a play from the Lions book and they ran that like reverse, that double reverse with the wide receiver going out to the right side with the tight end blocking for him, and he took it. He housed that like I think it was for like the first score of the game, which is crazy. Actually, excuse me. I think that was after the Chiefs had answered because Derrick Henry scored like the first touchdown of the season. But so that was really cool to see on that side. But yeah, and then getting into the Ravens side, people obviously were looking at how Derrick Henry was going to perform in his new team. Yeah, he's not prime Derrick Henry that he's not 25 years old anymore. But again, he's still 6'2",
Contribute.
250 pounds.
Yeah.
A monster on short yardage situations. And I thought that he had a respectable performance. I think obviously it's hard to run against a defensive line that has Chris Jones on it, but I think that he did well, all things considered. Um, and I think that the biggest issue for the Ravens that caused their ultimate inability to win the game was the protection for Lamar Jackson. And I think that had he had more time throughout the course of the game, things could have panned out differently. But people are saying, I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, that he just doesn't have this clutch gene because he missed, likely in the corner of the end zone to end the game. He also had Zay Flowers open in the middle of the field.
I don't
Um,
know what happened there.
yeah, and then in the post game interview, he was like, "Oh, I was trying to look for Bateman. Bateman sat down on his own. I was trying to throw it to him. So he apparently he didn't even see Flowers wide
Yeah,
open. I
I
was
didn't
like,
like the answer either.
yeah.
Yeah.
So all in all, like that's what I'll leave it with for my first pass. But I think that the Ravens have some things to clean up, but it wasn't a terrible performance considering they're playing the reigning champions. And the Chiefs are just the Chiefs. Really, at the end of the day, they haven't. It doesn't look like there's really any like lapse there since last year.
I think we have pretty much similar opinions on how the game went. I'm gonna break it down from the Chiefs side and then the Ravens side. So for starters, I think Patrick Mahomes he looked like his usual self. He looked great, scrambling in the pocket, handling pressure. He had a 71% completion rate with only one interception, which you can definitely live with. And I think the play of the night for him was you probably saw this when he had that deflection and he kind of jumped
And he
up and
caught it
like
himself.
almost
Yeah,
scooped it.
that was
I'm
a very clutch play. Yeah, that was
like
insane.
that was he had to outjump two people. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
But that's kind of where I loved his performance. He looks good. He looks like his normal self. So nothing to worry on that front. I thought Travis Kelsey, even though he didn't get a lot of receptions, I think he only had like 4 or 5. He still did a good job blocking and running his routes hard, and he had a few timely catches. So I don't want to undersell that. But I just think the Chiefs look a lot more well rounded on offense this year. And I know it's only been one game, but like you said, their receiver core looks a lot better and things just seemed to be clicking out there. I don't think their defense looked great, I will say, but they got stops when they needed to in the fourth quarter. And while a lot of people like you can attribute a lot of that to Lamar Jackson in that fourth quarter, but the Chiefs defense also held up pretty well when they needed to, like I mentioned. On the Ravens offensive front, I thought Lamar Jackson for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters of that game, he looked very under control. He looked very confident. He was running the ball well, and he had stretches throughout that game where he was straight up carrying them when their offense was dead to rights.
he looks a
That
lot
throw,
faster too.
yeah, I agree, and that throw off balance to likely in the fourth quarter. I don't know. He had a few. I was a little disappointed because obviously we were all expecting a thriller game, which we did get. But I would have loved for that game to go to OT or for them to try and score and then go for two. And I hated how it ended, where the guy his toe was a little bit out of bounds. But like that's what happened. That's the rule.
You
Like
gotta
there's
wear white
nothing.
cleats, man.
Yeah, nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I'm not really sure that Zay Flowers pass probably gonna haunt him for a good portion of the season, whether he admits it or not. That was a read you can't miss. Not of that. That was a pivotal moment in that game, and I think that's well a lot of people, but
Yeah,
it's kind
like
of
in
why
my
they lost.
opinion, they had two opportunities to win the game before it even came down to that very last play. So I mean, at the end of the day, it never comes down to just one play, right? Like there are definitely a lot of things that they could have cleaned up along the way to help get them over the edge.
And as a fan, I was really excited to see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson like touch the field together, and they looked pretty good. They looked explosive, and obviously there's going to be some things that they need to clean up. But for the first go around, they looked like they worked pretty well together. The one thing the Ravens gave up a huge freebie touchdown in the fourth. I'm forgetting where exactly it happened, but it was a huge blown coverage, and mistakes like that are gonna cost you. And I think both teams could look to use some improvement on defense, but the Ravens, they definitely need to tie up some things and fix some things up. But I think both teams looked pretty solid for week one.
Agreed. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started with the Lions versus Rams. Like I mentioned, this game ended in a Lions W in overtime. I just want to start off by saying I love watching this rivalry. Like both teams kind of came out on the better end of that trade, and it's just nice seeing. Like I still have love for Matthew Stafford. It's always nice seeing him play, and while he's going against the Lions, you can't necessarily root for him. I don't know about you, but I'm never really rooting against him. Only when he plays us. But like I wish him well, and it's good to see him thriving in their system. Um, Golf, he was okay in this game. He threw for 217 yards, and he looked decent. That pick early in the fourth, though, I was I was like, dude, you were having
Yeah.
such a
That
good
was like
game.
such like a pivotal like point in the game too, bro. Like I really, yeah, it was bad.
And they panned to his face once he threw it, and I just felt so bad for him. So I'm like, dude, as if they lose this game, ha 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 ha, he would have got his head chewed off. But
Yeah.
they didn't. And I just want to Jameson Williams. He had 121 yards on only 9 targets. He was a beast in this game. Our
He got
entire
the player of the game too. He got the player of the game ball.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that. I had to head out a little towards the end. Like as soon as the game ended, I was on the move. Cause yeah, we were watching that at a friend's place. But our entire offense was, I just want to say, insane in overtime. And David Montgomery, that dude, like I thought he was gonna run out of stamina because he was just marching it downfield, and they couldn't do shit about it. Couldn't do shit about it, and
Yeah.
it was so
It
exciting.
was genius coaching because in my head during that last fourth quarter drive, I'm like, bro, like why is Gibbs in the play in the game every single play? Why are they kind of running this inside zone? We needed to play some smash mouth football, try to run some clock out. But they knew that they were about to go to overtime with them, so they just like, all right, let's just give them fresh legs and just let them march down
He
the field.
looked
Like
fresh.
they were thinking like 3 steps ahead, bro. Like that was genius.
And I just want to give a salute to our offensive line. We got the best in the league, and they just looked great tonight. And I was just really impressed. And it was happy as a Lions fan. It's just so nice and refreshing to see them winning. And then I just want to touch on our defense a little bit. We looked great in the fourth quarter. Like when we needed to get stops, we made it happen. We were pressuring the QB. And even though he was getting some throws off, he had some crazy fakes. Stafford, he was doing a great job running it in the pocket. I think he threw for 317 yards. He looked very, very, very sharp. But we got it done, and there's not really much you could say. I was super happy to see a Lions W. But yeah, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Brett. What were your thoughts, and how did you feel about the game?
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting because again, this it was also important to know that I believe we had a lead. Yeah, we were up on them 10-3 going into halftime, and then at one point it was 17-3, and then they scored like 17 unanswered points, and then we had to like kind of come back. So one thing I will note that is kind of a thing that they need to work on as far as this new regime of the Lions. One thing I've noticed is for some reason we always come out flat in the third quarter, and like and usually the first half of the fourth quarter, and then we have to like try to like claw our way back like the very end of
Yep.
the game. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know like what exactly. I don't know if it's like they let their foot off the gas because they're like, oh, we got a lead now, so like we can just like kind of like rest a little bit. But
A
that's one
terrible
thing I
approach.
noticed is that we've consistently struggled like that because like we had a lead on the 49ers too in the NFC Championship game, and we kind of lost, falter there at the end in the third quarter. But um, to echo a lot of the points that you were making, Jerry Goff didn't impress me sadly, but I'll chalk it up to him not playing at all in the preseason, and I think the same thing with St. Brown. I feel like they just weren't really on the same page, and I think that pick was probably miscommunication because normally St. Brown really is one of the best in the league at those like kind of go out 5, 10 yards and like hit a spot that's free in the zone and sit down and then make a nice secure possession catch. And that's kind of what they're trying to do on that play when he threw the pick. So this kind of miscommunication about what area he was going to be in based on the defense, I guess. But I think that will come with like being back into the groove of like actually playing like real football instead of practices and stuff. But again, I was just like you said, ecstatic for JMO. One of my favorite wide receiver personalities in the NFL. You can tell he just really loves the game and he loves the city of Detroit. Like after they had won, he posted a picture with him and his friends at Zorba's, and I just thought that's like so funny because he's not even from like Detroit or anything, but he's like really embraced like the Detroit culture, which I think is really cool. Um, and yeah, man, like you said, it's just always a great story behind this game. Stafford, the guy that gave us like 12 years of his career after being a first round pick and went through like some of the worst seasons in the history of like Lions football. The Jim Schwartz era and all the Matt Patricia era and all those like struggling times, right? But like he finally came out on top, won a Super Bowl, and then he comes back home to face us, and we have to root against him. So I always like the story that can be told behind these games, and I think that's always just a lot of fun. And like you said, when you can come out with the win in overtime, it makes it that much better. One thing I'll also say too, props to Cooper Kupp. After Nakua went down, like you said, alongside with Stafford, he was just making it easy for Stafford. You know what I'm saying? Like he had to get the ball out within. I think they said, I believe there was a statistic that said he was the fastest at getting the ball out of on average, like for every snap out of every single QB last week. He got it out in like less than like 2.5 seconds, like every single play. And that was because Cooper Kupp was basically open like after 2 seconds after every single
Killing
snap.
us. He was
Yeah,
killing us.
for sure, killing us. Also, yeah, Arnold, I feel like was given a tall task to guard one of the best route running wide receivers in the league, as a rookie, and you saw he struggled there a little bit
A
with a
lot of
couple
penalties.
penalties,
Yeah.
a couple DPIs and such. But I mean, he'll learn. He's a rookie. It's obviously just gonna be growing pains. But I think all things considered, I think he did a good job. Like, yeah, the penalties cost us a little bit, but at least he didn't get like majorly burned downfield like a whole bunch of times for like a touchdown or anything like that. So I think he'll learn, as the season progresses, what's going to get called in game and what's not, because that's kind of something you kind of have to learn while you're playing. Because I don't think they like flag people in practice, so I think yeah he'll get used to that and understand that as the season goes along. So not too worried there.
I
Um,
thought both teams just looked super sharp. That's the one
yeah,
thing I kind of took away. They both looked like top 10 teams this season.
for sure. And Kevin, one more thing, Kevin Zeiler, our new acquisition at right guard, was I think the unsung hero in that like overtime drive because along with him and Frank Ragnow are all pro center, like, bro. They're both getting up to the second level to linebackers and just pushing everybody back like 5 yards. Like that dude's a beast, and I see why he was an all pro with the Ravens. So happy to have him here in Detroit too.
I know that was a great encapsulation, and I think we're kind of on the same page and excited for Lions football this year. Hopefully they're Super Bowl bound, and fingers crossed. I'm gonna knock on wood though. This is a little too soon to be throwing that out there, but
Oh, and to
we
the
got
people,
high hopes.
I got a new decor piece in the background. I ordered a little Lions fan cave piece off the interwebs. So because I was like, yeah, let me I gotta decorate a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Showcase who I am and what we're about here on the Peer Review podcast. So yeah.
And I just want to mention one thing. I had a few people point this out to me in the last video. These are not blue lights. We were talking about Michigan a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, you're supporting." These are white LED lights. It's just the reflection and how things are going on. I would not have any blue paraphernalia going on in this Michigan State apartment. I just wanted to throw that out there real
Clear the
quick.
air.
Yeah, before we move on. But like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna start with the MSU versus Maryland game. This ended in a Michigan State W. The score was 27-24, and MSU were 8.5 point underdogs in this game. So I just want to start off by preferencing that. Like this was a pretty impressive win. I think Michigan State played horrible, but still found a way to win this game. I'm probably being a little harder on them than most, but I want to start with Aiden Childs. He had a bunch of bad reads in this game, but he also had a bunch of really encouraging plays. He finished the game with 3 picks and 3 touchdowns. So we're definitely gonna have to work on that, cleaning up a lot of those mistakes.
That's a Jameis Winston stat line.
Yeah, we gotta. We don't want to keep all of these picks like they can't keep happening. And obviously, like he's gonna hopefully tone them down as the season progresses. And we got the win, so I don't want to harp on it too much. But some points that I have for him, his accuracy needs some work. 'Cause a lot of the balls just he would like overthrow a guy or there was a few things like that. But the one thing I like and I've noticed about him, he doesn't lose his confidence, which is a really, really, really good sign moving forward. I think it was around the 14-minute mark in the fourth. We were down what 7, and he had the guts to throw the ball 45 yards down the field to Nick Marsh in stride, which kind of gave us back our momentum after our offense struggled a little bit. So that was really, really exciting to see. And I just want to give a shout out to Nick Marsh because he was making a ton of plays as like the lead receiver tonight. And we got, I don't want to just harp on him, but we got good production from all of our receivers, I'd say. And I just think the story of the game was our defense. We did a great job. Pressure, I don't want to say great. We did a decent job pressuring the QB, deflecting a lot of passes. And our defense gave our offense so many opportunities. I was feeling bad for them. They were putting it all out there, and they played a huge, huge, huge portion of the game. Maryland only ran for just 86 yards, so their run game was pretty much non-existent, and I attribute a lot of that to our defense. And then our linebacker Jordan Turner, he has 7 tackles, so he was a monster out there. The one thing I think we do need to work on though is pressure in the QB a bit more. I think we can apply more pressure, and I think it needs to happen if we want to see a better production just overall. But that's my one like stripe on our defense during the game. But I thought overall it was just great to see MSU come out 2-0, and I'm excited for us this season. We have a young team, a new head coach, and starting off 2-0, you couldn't ask for a better start.
Yeah, you guys are looking pretty good over there. I would say that I also think that Aiden Childs is a gamer, and honestly, after watching what we have at the Texas game, I think that he's probably better than our QB, like pretty sure. So that speaks volumes to him as a sophomore. So I think that you guys are in good hands in the future. And yeah, like obviously he's making mistakes, but hopefully he's taking it in stride and learning from it in film. And obviously the confidence is something, like you said, is intangible that's going to carry with him throughout the rest of the season. So it's great. And it's first win in Big Ten play is huge. Every game is always important and hard as no matter what. Whenever you're dealing with conference play and rivalries and such like that. But I would also say that it seemed like Michigan State didn't really have an answer for Ty Felton on Maryland side. It had like 11 receptions and like 152 yards. But other than that, nobody else was as effective as him. I think he was just like insane. But usually Maryland has a pretty strong passing attack for the most part. So that's just kind of like how their system is built over there. So I mean that's kind of just like whatever they're gonna get yards. It's just kind of like how they play, especially when you throw like 40 times a game. But yeah, it's cool to see Michigan State having some success after what their fans had to
Yeah.
endure over the past couple of seasons with the some of the issues with their
A
former
lot of
head
highs and a
coach.
lot of lows since I've been here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then yeah, so it's cool, man. I'll
Tip your hat.
I'm not anti-Sparty unless we play them. So we'll see what happens for them for the rest of the year.
And I just wanted to add, I don't know if this was just how the camera was panning, but it felt like there were so many Michigan State fans at the game. Like you look around, like it was zoom in, people celebrating, and especially towards the end of the game, like it was so nice to see. But moving on, I'm gonna kind of let you tip things off with the Michigan versus Texas game. This game ended in a Texas W, and the score was 31-12. And one fun fact: this was the most watched college football game this season. So be cool to see if they hold that record moving forward. But yeah, I'm gonna let you kind of tip things off.
Yeah. I don't, it's hard. It's tough getting embarrassed, I guess, in front of the largest audience so far in college football. But I mean, it makes sense. We are technically the reigning national champions, and I will say, first of all, I want to dispel the rhetoric behind, oh, Michigan has only been good because they've been cheating for the past 3 years, and Harbaugh was a cheater. That's why he left the NFL. But you know what? I will leave y'all with this. Once the news came out about the Connor Stallion sign stealing stuff, everybody knew, and that was after like the fourth or fifth game of the season, and we played our hardest games. Therefore, after that, against OSU, against Washington, against Alabama, they all knew. They all had well in advance time to change whatever they wanted to change, but we just physically dominated them. And I think that team was a great team. JJ, Roman Wilson, Blake Corum, all doing great things in the NFL. Cornelius Johnson, yeah,
Harping
yeah.
on the
So
past.
yeah, okay. So let me get the. I had to dispel the rumors first, um, but I'll get into the actual game. You feel me? So I think really people just have to understand that this is just a rebuilding year for Michigan. This game kind of was going to let us know what we had, and I think that we are all now very well aware of that we are not in uh, back-to-back national championship competition because Texas just looked phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? On their offensive line looks dominant. They look Joe Moore Ward winning, similar to how Michigan has looked for the past 3 years. They ran a lot of counter plays where their guards were able to get up to the second level and block for the linebackers and just totally physically dominate us at the line of scrimmage. And at the end of the day, that's how you win football games, especially big ones like these. Quinn Ewers looks phenomenal. He looks like a Heisman candidate. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 24 for 36, well over 60% passing completion. So, and I don't think that our defense is. Yeah, I think they're still pretty good. They're not as dominant as they were last year, but for him to torch us like that, I definitely think that's just really a testament to his skill, being elusive in the pocket. Getting away from pressure from Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and those guys at defensive tackle and being able to make plays downfield. And he also was able to scramble when he needed to. And Gunnar Helm, which is, by the way, low key one of the coolest names I ever heard for a tight end, had like 100 yards too. He was a big target for Quinn Ewers over there. But my main takeaway from this game again is that, um, honestly, I think I'm the most disappointed in Donovan Edwards' performance. For a college football 25 cover athlete and the proposed running back one, he was like barely better than Mullings for real. I mean, in this game he did struggle, but I mean, Khalil Mullings technically was still averaging about 4 yards a carry. I feel like we just kind of got away from running it because we felt like it wasn't effective for some reason, even though we were averaging a decent amount of yards per carry. I don't know, but I definitely don't think we're gonna win any major football games with Davis Warren throwing 30 times a game. And that's no knock to Davis Warren. Love the guy. He's actually I have a class with him this semester. So shout out Davis Warren at ML 320. But I just really I don't think like we're a drop back and pass like 40 times a game team. Like that's not what Michigan football is about. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to be able to run on first and second down and be able to get 6, 7, 8 yards, and then do like a play action pass rollout kind of thing, and be able to stay on track with your down and distance in order to control the time of possession, dominate the line of scrimmage, and keep the ball out of the hands of our opponents that usually like to pass, more like your OSU teams that are their schemes are more like pass happy and stuff like that. So I really just think that if we can't lean on the strength of our offensive line being able to dominate like that, I just don't see a path for us to be able to succeed and dominate the entire season like how we did last year. And realistically, I think my dad will agree with me on this. We'll probably lose about 4 or 5 games this season, which is okay. It is a rebuilding year. We have a new head coach. We lost like 15 players to the NFL. This was
Young
to be
team.
expected. I don't think. I think people's expectations coming into the season were way too high for us to just like pick up right where we left off without having a lot of the key pieces that we had last year.
That's fair, and I like that you're optimistic. I'm not trying to like it feels facetious. I'm not trying to throw it in your face. But I guess my key takeaway from this game, Texas just dominated on both sides of the ball, and there was just not much you could. They came out sharp. I kind of want to touch on Davis Warren just to start. He had 1 touchdown with 2 picks, which just it's not gonna get it done. Michigan, I just think they turned the ball over way too much. They had 3 turnovers to Texas's 0, and I had it in my notes, and you kind of mentioned this last week. You talked about Donovan Edwards and how he kind of shows up in big games, and he basically just he kind of let you down with that point. Like in my notes, I just have Donovan Edwards with like 5 question marks because where the hell was he? And then I don't know if it was nerves. I don't even remember who it was, but he dropped that pass and it ended up turning into a fumble, like leading into the half. And I just thought that
Yeah, that
like
was close to leveling. He's basically our best receiver. He's a tight end, but like he caught like 8 receptions. But yeah, for some reason he had like a brain lapse there. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Like I was saying, like is that I don't want to say that's nerves. I feel like they're accustomed. Like obviously there's some going on, but that was just
Yeah, I
bizarre.
mean he's a national championship winning tight end. He's a great player. I think honestly that yeah, like it has to do honestly with the coaching and the focus over the offseason. I don't think that's just a him issue. I think that's like a team issue that they need to get ironed out behind the scenes.
But yeah, I just thought that was like seeing that going into half. I was like, yeah,
Not good.
this is looking
Bad
bad.
ball.
And you guys just you didn't get a lot of production out of your offense, like just as a whole. But like you said, that comes down to a little bit of scheme as well. I felt like you guys should have utilized your run game a lot more than you did. And hey, maybe next week they're gonna come out and they're gonna look at this game and maybe they're gonna come out way sharper, way stronger. We don't know. We have to wait and see. But yeah, I thought your defense looked decent. Like I mentioned last week, you guys still have a very, very, very high level defense. And I think if the path is there for you guys to have a successful season, it's gonna be on the defensive end of the ball.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I'm
think the
not gonna.
play. Oh, sorry, real quick. I think the play that made me the most mad, honestly, low key, you're right. I think I put a lot of blame on the offensive coordinator because he's new this year too. It was I think his name's like I don't remember, but he was the QB coach last year when we won the national championship or whatever. He was promoted. I don't think he's ever been an offensive coordinator before, but he was promoted into this position by Sherwood, where obviously that's how it works. You work your way up, whatever. But bro, like his scheming and his routes are like not are just not good. Like there was the play where Davis Warren threw a pick. And you know how like they showed the cam view with like you see behind the QB, you see like where the routes are running. Why are we running 4 comebacks on like a 3rd and 4, bro? And like everybody like because they're literally waiting in the zone at the first down marker, so they could literally just sit there, wait, and it just pick the ball off. It was like it was the worst, most predictable thing I've ever seen. So that has to be fixed, and I really hope that we have better play calling going into the future too.
And I was kind of gonna add, this was like a fun fact. You guys were 3 and 12 on third down conversion, so that literally goes to show you like they weren't getting it done.
Yeah.
And I don't want to beat on Michigan too much. It's a loss. It happens. And hopefully they just come back better next week. Because obviously even though I'm a Spartan, I'm from Michigan, so obviously those are gonna be the teams I'm rooting for against all else. So, but that's kind of all I had as a topic and as a discussion today. Did you have anything else you wanted to add or touch on? I'm kind of gonna hand the floor to you, and if not, go ahead and close us off.
What do you give me your prediction for the Lions record, MSU's record, and Michigan's record?
Ooh,
Curious. You can take a second to think about that too, because I gotta think about that. But
yeah. Yeah, I want to look back at my notes. I want to see where I had them, and because I kind of feel like I don't think my prediction about the Lions is going to change very much.
hmm
Mm. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm gonna let you here. I'll let you start us off while I pull up some stuff.
okay, yeah, yeah. I think I think that for the Lions, I want to say we will go 13-4. That's like my ceiling.
Hmm.
If we keep doing what we know we're capable of doing, if nobody gets injured, et cetera, et cetera, I think there's no way we should win less than like 11 games in my opinion. I think we should be between like 11 and 13. But um, I think the Wolverines again are probably going to get roughly like 8 wins. I think they'll probably be like 8-5 ish. Maybe 9-4. We'll see. Whether or not we win the bowl game also I think depends on who we get matched up against because I don't know like how that's gonna shake up. But and then for MSU, honestly, like low key, like probably like the same. Like honestly, like probably like a 9-4 situation, 8-5 situation. Like I feel like Michigan State is definitely better than the majority of the Big Ten East outside of OSU and Penn State. And honestly, I think when we play, it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think that will be like another very good, like close rival game. So I don't really know how that's going to shake up, but yeah. So I think like right now, like to me, I feel like both teams are like kind of young and trying to find like their identity with the new like coaching scheme. It's still, so I
Mhm.
kind of want to see how the rest of the season plays out, at least half of it, before I kind of make that call. But yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a little too soon to make like a dead to rights prediction. I wanted to pull up where I had the Lions in our overview earlier this year. I had them at about 12 wins, and I don't really see that changing. I think they'll end at about I could see maybe 13 if they're lucky and win a game later in the year that maybe they're not supposed to. But obviously they're gonna have a very successful season, and I think we're about the same with Michigan and Michigan State. I'd say about the same for Michigan, anywhere from I keep it on like a spectrum because I want to see how things look moving forward. But I think they're both positioned to win about 7 to 9 games. I know that's a pretty wide gap, but I want to see them play a little more because I didn't expect, in all honesty, I didn't expect MSU to come out 2-0, and like I'm very optimistic and I'm happy about it and looking for moving forward. I'm hoping this continues, but I wasn't expecting either team to be super great this year.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I had. So if you're ready, we can close it out.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
thank you all so much for tuning into the Peer Review podcast today. We really appreciate it.
Please make sure you guys share the podcast with your friends and family, as well as follow us on X at peerreview_pod and TikTok at peer review podcast to stay up to date with our latest episodes and releases.
And myself and Caleb also personally monitor all of our accounts, and we love to hear your feedback. What do you think about Michigan? What do you think about MSU? What do you think about the Lions, the Chiefs, the Ravens? Any scope of the college football landscape or the NFL landscape that we've been discussing lately. Want us to cover different topics? Let us know in the comments. And thank you all again for listening. We appreciate you. And this is the Peer Review signing off.